have a great practice. I'll be here to help.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Carson. And Carson's just up the street from me, actually. If I yelled, you could probably hear me. Um, but welcome everyone. This is indeed Medicine Buddha. Welcome to those of you who are new, joining us for the first time. It's wonderful to have you. And as Carson pointed out, just relax. This is a guided practice from this profound tradition of Medicine Buddha. And welcome back to those of you who have been coming. It's good to see you again. And as always, I would love for if you would like to do a check-in in the chats. How are you doing? What are you bringing into the space? How's your heart? Um, what are you hoping to get out of practice today? I mean, anything really. Um, just to kind of let us know. Yeah, and we're nearing the end of retrograde for this season, which is wonderful for some of us, you know, um, where retrograde has been bearing down on us. So I can't wait till this gets cleared up some. But I know it's been really hard work for a lot of folks to make it through this several weeks on top of everything else that's happening. Um, so I'm just really, yeah, I just want to uplift and acknowledge the ways in which so many of you survive, and the way that so many of you have really learned to practice care for yourself, to practice care for others around you, and particularly the ways that you have learned to open to care. We can't get free without the care of community, right? Medicine Buddha is indeed a Mahayana tradition and practice, and Mahayana means that we're all trying to get free together, right? Um, and the ways in which also that we push through survival into thriving. And I think this is what Medicine Buddha and the practice is teaching us to enter into a thriving where we have access to everything that we need, right? Um, so I know some of you joined us for a Medicine Buddha half-day retreat yesterday. And by the way, the recording for Medicine Buddha is available for those of you who signed up but couldn't make it in person. So that's accessible. We'll offer it again, the recordings as well. Um, and now that we have this half-day retreat done, I will move forward now every few months and offering drop-in um, kind of classes, not on Mondays, but other days, usually probably weekends, drop-in classes where we will focus on particular topics in this particular tradition of Medicine Buddha as well. So there's lots of things that we can start moving into now that we have this basic retreat done. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about really teaching how I have adapted this tradition to meet this moment. How I do that in my personal practice, how I kind of use Medicine Buddha and other practices outside of Buddhism. Um, but Medicine Buddha is my principal vehicle for my healing work and my medicine work. My energy work, my herbal work, right? I use Medicine Buddha quite a bit to channel these energies, right? So I'm excited about that, and but we'll send out more information about that in the future when that comes about. Um, Oh, by the way, too, just so you have it on your mind, tomorrow night we are doing Blessed Slave, 6 p.m. Eastern time, and that's 6 to 9 Eastern time. And tomorrow we'll be doing meditative concentration or samadhi as well. So you don't need the book or anything. We have an electronic text that we put up and share on the screen. So just making sure that I remind you about that. But in any case, so yesterday I don't want to I want to do just like a brief review of yesterday, but I really actually just want to focus on how we are beginning to understand healing within this tradition, right? And when we talk about healing, we're talking about first the outer layer of healing, this outer experience. And that outer experience is the work of tending to all forms of suffering, releasing trauma, and learning to be in care with community to experience personal and collective thriving. And I'll see if I can just post that in the chat, if I can do multiple things at once. So it's not about um, getting well or fixing anything. It's about tending, caring for, opening to, being with our experience, as it arises. All right. Um, and so when we come into, practice with Medicine Buddha, we are just allowing the the space that opens in this practice to tend to deep discomfort, right? Space for me is the medicine. Even though traditionally we would say that emptiness is the absolute medicine, which it absolutely is, right? But we get to emptiness through space, at least in my practice that I'm forcing on you, right? So space is how I get into emptiness. And so space becomes the first medicine that I begin to experience in this practice, the way in which things just kind of are held in their place and I can actually relax and settle, right? And just be with things as they arise, not attaching or getting wrapped up in anything, but just noticing, feeling, experiencing, getting curious, right? So that's the outer kind of level of healing. The inner level of healing, right? The experience, I would say, of this healing work is how we reconcile phenomena while balancing comfort and discomfort. So I'll just put that into the chat. Right. So again, this inner experience of healing is reconciling with phenomena while balancing comfort and discomfort. So when I say reconciling with phenomena, it's really the practice of accepting what is, first and foremost, telling the truth about what's happening, even if you are in the process of transitioning, right, and dying, leaving this particular realm. It is reconciling and opening to the truth of that transition, being at home with that. And in doing so, we find a balance with comfort and discomfort that neither disappears, but both are held, right? And that's often how we are being asked in the practice to move through life is to find our balance here, right? Because we will all always in some way be uncomfortable, right? We are uncomfortable until we remember who and what we are. So our discomfort is an expression of not fully remembering our true natures being awakened, right? Our Buddha nature, as we would say. And so we're here in this reality having this experience because we have forgotten what we really are. We got distracted from it, right? And we find ourselves here having this experience, which for many beings, yeah, we call this a dream, right? The Buddha often talked about this being a dream, but for a lot of beings, this is a nightmare, right? A nightmare that really, on the deepest level, we're choosing. And what Dharma and Buddhism is helping us to understand is that we can start making different choices. Those different choices are what we do to align ourselves with liberation or remembering what we are, not who. We can be a who relatively, or you can be a who in Whoville, right? But relatively, yes, we're a who, right? But we can be our most authentic who. But I don't want us to stop there, right? I want us to remember what we are. We are states of being, right? When we look at Medicine Buddha, we are Medicine Buddha, right? What Dharma is helping us to understand is, well, I would say rather Dharma is this path that's slowly helping us to remember bit by bit, right? Because the remembrance has to go really slowly because every bit of this remembrance has to be skillfully integrated, right? Particularly if we are embodied in this world, right? It is easy to get too much of the truth and bypass so much of what it means to be embodied, right? And I think sometimes that's what psychosis looks like, for people, you know. Often think about this in terms of like, some of our favorite cult leaders, and I know you have some. I know I'm not the only one glued to these in docuseries about every single cult. It was the recent one, Nature Boy, which was happening here in Atlanta. I was like, you just never know. You never know who you're living next door to, right? So I'm very suspicious of groups of people anywhere now. But I think with like, I have a particular like analysis of people who emerge as cult leaders, right? I just think that many of them are quite realized, but they haven't gone through the process of integrating realization, right? And I'm grateful for all the paths that emphasize gradual awakening, and Buddhism is one of those paths, right? Tibetan Buddhism and all the lineages and schools, right? But for me, Tibetan Buddhism has been a very gradual, bit by bit, step by step awakening that has allowed me to slowly integrate, right? The view is the view of the absolute truth into my relative life and movements, right? It's a titration that's it's slowly like, building this capacity to understand the truth, to be with the absolute, but also to be here in my body, to be here in community, to be in compassion with and for the world and for myself and other beings, right? The gradual way that we do this awakening helps us to understand that we're here for more than just trying to get awakened. We're here also to help others get free and awaken, right? And so many of us come here, we're born here to help, right? And when you are here to help, that makes you a bodhisattva, right? I mean, a bodhisattva with a lowercase b, right? but still a bodhisattva. It makes you a bodhisattva when you say, you know what, I am going to do whatever I can to help, then you are in line with the most important ethic, right? In Buddhism and Dharma. Right? It doesn't matter if you fuck it up and keep fucking it up. It doesn't matter. Like, get rid of this idea of perfection. There's no way you can be perfect in the experience of chaos and disorder, right? Perfection is just a trap, right? So we have to hold space for the ways in which, yes, we will make a lot of mistakes, right? It's mistake after mistake. We walk the unmistaken path. Um, so this integration, so this is when I talk about reconciling with phenomena, balancing comfort and discomfort, this is the work, right? To start remembering that there is another experience that transcends suffering, and at the same time to choose to be here in the suffering, right? Not just for yourself, but for other beings, right? This is what Medicine Buddha is teaching us. And I know that I still have the 12 Buddha aspirations that I'm going to send out to people in the course. So I'll get to those tomorrow. I got a little sidetracked with retrograde today. Right. It asked me, retrograde kindly asked me to sit my ass down for most of the day, and so I obliged. So, um, and I'm grateful to be here. Right. And so lastly, right, and this is like no big secret. So we talk about the secret level. So we've done the outer level of healing, right? The inner level of healing, the experience. And now the secret level of healing is just remembering emptiness, right? That's when we study the Medicine Buddha Tantras, right? This is what Medicine Buddha does. This is the ultimate medicine of all the Buddhas, right? Remembering emptiness, right? Emptiness doesn't mean the absence of everything, but emptiness means that we understand that there is no there, as Gertrude Stein famously said. Actually, she made that statement about Oakland, California. Strangely enough, she was born in Oakland. It's strange to think that Gertrude Stein was born in Oakland, knowing what we know about Oakland, but this was like way long time ago, like I think the early 1900s. But back then, Oakland was just farmland, you know, and then later in her life, of course, Oakland built up, right, as we know Oakland today. And and someone asked her about her home, and she was like, "Well, there's no there anymore. Like where I grew up doesn't exist." Right. Um, so I love that quote. But I always think about that quote in relationship to emptiness. There's no there, right? But we say that there is a there, but there's no there actually, right? So emptiness is the essence of everything. We arise from emptiness. We will eventually return to emptiness if we choose. And if we work hard enough, that returning back to emptiness is often what we call nirvana, right? That returning back to the rest, right? That merging back. Mhm. But until then, we arise, right? The space makes it possible for rising to happen, but the energy also, right, makes it possible, you know? The energy itself being the material of phenomena, right? We feel things, we touch things, right? We have bodies, we experience things because energy is being shaped into this illusion of something. And what we're trying to do is unlearn the ways in which we are creating. phenomena in many ways they're deeply, deeply unconscious. Mhm. And so the skillfulness, particularly, I mean, of all Buddhism, but particularly of Tibetan Buddhism, when we are imagining the deities, in which we call deity yoga, we are learning how to develop agency over what we are creating, right? We're learning how our mind creates by going through a process of generating or creating a version or an expression of the deity. And when we take on the drag of the deity, right? When we become medicine Buddha, when we become Tara, right, who's behind me, when you become the deity, you are for a second disrupting this rigid ego identification with a sense of self. And how that particular sense of self that we're identifying with is in a lot of suffering, right? And when we say, I am medicine Buddha, I am Tara, for a second, we disrupt that clinging to self. And that slight disruption can open up a little bit of space around the sense of self. And that's when we start suffering less, right? That's how deity yoga really contributes to the decrease of suffering, right? So that's the skillfulness of deity yoga, which when we practice medicine Buddha like this, we are practicing deity yoga, you know? Um, and so together, this outer, inner, and secret, levels of healing is what's happening in our practice, right? We're learning how to tend to our suffering. We're learning how to release the suffering and the trauma, right? And we're learning how to open to the care of community, right? To the care of others. Not just humans, right? But all beings, plants, animals, spirits, deities, right? Name it. But I also go further, right? To say that we are always being cared for by objects. Like I'm being cared for by this couch that I'm sitting on. I'm being cared for by this light that's illuminating this space. I'm being cared for by this incense that's burning, right? I'm being cared for by my air conditioning right now, right? I'm being cared for by my glasses that help me to see clearly, right? And so forth and so on, right? The phenomenal world is always trying to care for us, and therefore the phenomenal world is trying to get us free. And the way of thinking about this is how we begin to understand Mahamudra as well. Mahamudra being the philosophy and the practice that all phenomena is actually just pointing us back home, right? As things arise, we're learning that they're arising from a source. That source is emptiness. And the more we're able to attune to the arising of phenomena, the more we start experiencing how we ourselves are also arising from the same source. And then we're able to rest in that arising, not think about it, but rest, be with, sit with, right? Abide with. So much of what we're trying to do is, I think, well, I will just say this. I think that like we get so exhausted trying to figure out everything, right? There's so much phenomenon, there's so much stimulus and stimuli happening that we get really distracted. And what we're being asked to do is to find our base, take up our space, right? And hold the space, right? To notice what's happening, to feel what's happening, and to make choices about how to respond to what's happening, not just react, but to respond. You know? So we're moving into a space of response, This is one of the grand movements of spiritual abolition, right? That we're moving from reactivity to response. And that takes a lot of space and a lot of practice to make that transition. And because we're transitioning to responsiveness, that also means that space is opening. So the practice of medicine Buddha is opening the space because everything is always present. But guess who's not always present? Me. Right? Like we're not creating anything. We're just remembering what's already happening. We're already free. Space is already here. Emptiness is already here. Responsiveness is already possible. We're not creating anything. We're just remembering. So think of this practice, and this is going to be like one of my central teachings, like in the years to come, this remembrance, right? I'm trying not to say getting awakened or getting enlightened anymore. I'm just going to be saying remembrance. Like I'm here to remember. I'm helping you to remember. I hope that I am sparking remembrance for you. Remembrance that you're not the chaos, you're not the violence, right? That we are the space, right? Not the rigidity, but the space, right? And even that little bit of reflection throughout the day can be really helpful when we find ourselves really tight, right? We come back to this thought, oh, you know what? I'm not this contraction. I'm actually the space. How do I invite myself back into the space, right? Not to bypass anything, right? Not to cover or erase anything, but to give us perspective so that we can respond. And we will realize that everything that we've been reacting to or attempting to respond to, we actually don't need to be doing any of that. There's so much that doesn't require response. And because we're trying to like meet everything as it arises through response, that can be really exhausting. And I think that's how capitalism gets us. Like it's just like capitalism and other systems keeps us moving, producing, generating, always on the go, but never encouraging us to rest, to respond. This is something that I learned early on from James Baldwin, right? Which I can never remember the exact wording of the quotes, right? But he says something along the lines of like, we're never encouraged to rest. And because we can't rest, we'll never win the war, basically, right? Always fighting, but never resting, right? And this is also the core teaching of Patricia Hersey as well, for those of you who read Patricia. Um, the you know the Nap Ministry and her Manifesto as well. Trisha Hersey. I'm sorry, I spelled her called her by her real name. Trisha Hersey. I try to put people's government names out in public, but anyhow, um, she won't ever find out. It's fine. Um, yeah. Okay. So I've said what I wanted to say. We're going to get into our practice. And I think if I remember correctly, we haven't done our transition practice to help folks transition this month. So I'm going to do that as well. And so in this practice, for those of you who are new, we're going to begin our practice, get into setting up the visualization, getting to our chanting, and then we'll take a break. I'll offer prayers, so make sure you get the prayer request in. And then after the prayers, I'll just do another short ceremony where we're calling in all the beings connected to us who are trying to transition, from this realm through the bardo, or they're dying, or people or beings who are recently deceased who are trying to make their way back. I do this regularly now um, because there are so many spirits who don't know how to proceed on. They get earthbound, they get trapped in this realm, and it's why we have hauntings and so much, things like that. But colonization, if we talk to indigenous communities, colonization disrupted traditional ceremonies. When people died, there was ceremony, not just a funeral. A funeral is important, the memorial service is important, but rituals were lost that actually guided beings, right? And so there are a lot of spirits who are just lost and wandering because, you know, these rituals aren't being done the ways that they need to be done. So we offer what we can. I'll offer water, do a short visualization, and then we will come back into our chanting, then finish up. Right. And we're going to do this in 45 minutes, so 50 maybe. But I'm not trying to be on this all night, so I have things to do. Like it's just listen, Golden Girls is not going to watch itself tonight. Plus, I have food in the oven, so I have to go like turn that off as well. But I already have my pajamas on, so like it's I'm already halfway to bed. Great. So as we begin, I'll be reminding you also of you know some of the work of around healing. I'll offer these as prompts to guide our practice as well. So let's begin. And again, finding your seats. And so just connecting to the weight of your body and the seat rising to hold you. Connecting to the land as well. So when we think about the land, we are touching the land, we're touching the earth. And when we touch the earth like this, we invite the earth to be present, the earth, its energy, consciousness. And when I think about the earth, I think about an expression of the sacred mother, the divine mother. So there's a deep sense of nurturing, holding, tethering here. And it's important that we touch the earth in the same way the Buddha touched the earth, as he was remembering his awakened nature under the Bodhi tree. So touching the earth, finding the seats, allowing our bodies to be at ease, finding the balance between comfort and discomfort, allowing our attention to shift upwards, beginning to touch into what we call the sky above us, and the sky representing the sacred father, the other half of this kind of very divine sacred duality of mother and father, and how the sky as the father opens and clears and watches and guides us as we're being held and guided also by the earth as the mother. And we continue just by calling to all of the great Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, to all the benevolent spirits and benevolent ancestors, and really all of our benefactors and all beings from across the universe who are here helping us to get free, helping us to remember. We call to them and we state very clearly, and I state this on behalf of our collective, that we are coming with only the deepest intentions to be of help, to be of benefit. And we pray that the spirits open our practice, that Medicine Buddha arrives, blesses us, holds us as we engage in this profound healing, not just for ourselves, but on behalf of all beings. And may this healing and remembrance happen as quickly as possible. We take refuge in all of the great ones who have made liberation possible, the great ones who have embodied remembrance. May we follow their example. May we do what is our obligation to do, which is to get free and to help others to get free. May it be so. So once again, returning back to the seat, the weight of our bodies, and bringing some attention to our skin, the outside of our bodies, our skin being the barrier, right, that creates the separation, right, from the outside world that contains us, that protects us, the skin, our largest organ. And I invite you to imagine that our skin energetically begins to soften, right? So this barrier doesn't feel so rigid, but it begins to soften. There's a tenderness that allows our bodies to open a little bit more. And as our bodies open, I also invite you to allow your breath to soften. And if you are focusing a little bit on the breath, I encourage you to inhale into the nose and release out of your mouth. So softening the skin, softening the breath, and slowing the breath down. And when you're ready, shifting your attention to your heart center. And imagining that you're breathing in and out of your heart center. And so leaving the breath there, I invite you to just to begin to reflect on your own healing work, the ways in which you are attempting to tend to all of your suffering, to your trauma, the ways that we are learning how to experience care and to open to care from others. And how this work is leading us to our experience of thriving. A thriving where we have unlearned all of the ways that we create suffering for ourselves, all the ways that we are struggling to disrupt the suffering or the harm that we experience from others. Finding the space to be, and having the resources to be resilient. And we think about how difficult this is as well, how much labor this takes, how much this has taken for our ancestors, whom we are also doing healing work on behalf of as well. And just for a moment, just really acknowledging your labor to get free, to remember, to heal, what it has cost, everything that you invested into this, just honoring that, acknowledging that. And when you're ready, I invite you to shift your attention to begin to reflect on the collective, on the peoples, the communities, the relationships around us, of all the beings who are also struggling to do this work as well, to heal, to tend to suffering, trying to learn to open to care and to care for at the same time. All beings who long to thrive, to be their most authentic, awakened selves. We think about all the ways so many beings are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We think about really how all beings, regardless of if they express this consciously or not, but how all beings want the same things we want: to thrive, to be free, to remember, to be in community, to be held, to be seen, and to be loved. And returning your attention to your heart center, I invite you to really form this aspiration, this wish for all beings, including ourselves, that we all get free, that we remember, that we together begin to thrive, to be in caring, loving relationship with one another, as well as with the phenomenal world and the natural world, especially. And as you think about that, as you form that aspiration for all of us, we imagine that within our heart centers begins to radiate this soft white light, like ET. This is the awakening of our heart chakras. But in this tradition, our heart centers are also representing our mind as well. The heart and the mind are represented both in the heart center. And that radiance begins to intensify as it begins to radiate throughout our whole bodies. And we begin to be filled with this illumination, that we begin to glow like stars in the sky. We begin to sparkle like Mother Tara herself. This radiance is the essence of our deep care for all beings. This radiance is a glimpse into our true nature, into the power, the illumination of our mind and awareness. And as we sit, allowing ourselves to radiate, we turn our attention to the first mantra, to the mantra of invitation. Om Minla Sange Kino Soha Medicine Buddha, I pray that you know and look upon me. And we begin by chanting Om, and then we continue by chanting the mantra 3 times, and then ending with chanting Om. Right? And so we begin. Soha. Om Sange Kino Soha. Om Sange Kino And we imagine that Medicine Buddha has turned attention towards us, feeling that awareness beginning to awaken within our own bodies, that we are being seen and held, that Medicine Buddha arrives. And we begin to feel Medicine Buddha awaken within our own bodies, perhaps as an experience of openness or spaciousness, maybe as an experience of a little more ease or expansion. Maybe Medicine Buddha arrives as a thought or a particular kind of sensation. And maybe for some of us, we actually begin to imagine that we are expressions of Medicine Buddha, that we begin to take on this profound, meticulous drag of the great healer, that we arise as the healer. And as we arise as the great healer, we begin to experience some form of thriving by just being in our bodies, being with our breath, being held by the seat. And as we are being held like this, we turn our attention to the main mantra, the traditional mantra, Teata Bekenze Maha Bekenze Razu Zumungate. Soha, like this, I pray for the end of pain and suffering and the root of pain and suffering. And I release the energy of this prayer out to all the worlds and to all the beings so that we all may be liberated. And as we begin our chanting, we can sit and listen, we can chant along in our own space, but just allowing the blessing of Medicine Buddha to begin to flow through us, allowing ourselves to expand, to feel the seat holding us, the earth rising to tether us, feeling the sky opening above and around us. Allowing Medicine Buddha to do this profound work of helping us to remember, and in doing that, helping us to heal. May it be so. O te anda begenze ma begenze razumunga te soha te anda begenze ma begenze As I turn attention to the prayers that have been offered by our community, I call to once again all of our benefactors, all of the great ones, the great liberators who have made our liberation work possible, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yidams, Dharma protectors, to all beings of light and love, to all benevolent ancestors, to all the great spirits and protectors of all the directions of the lands and the elements. We call to you to hold these prayers from our collective. And we pray that you work on our behalf to bring about the fruition of these prayers and showing us how to bring about the fruition of these prayers as well. May this be so. We offer prayers for liberation for G and all he needs to be resourced in this world and the one to come. Prayers for the courage to live in alignment with the truth of my being. Prayers for N to get free and for our babies that they continue to heal together. Prayers for J and A for all they need to get free. Prayers of gratitude for my benefactors for their love and protection. Prayers of gratitude and full resourcing for Lama Rod and his team. Prayers for G, H, and C to have safety, well-being, and everything that they need for what is to come. Prayers for great healing. May we all be the medicine the world needs. Prayers of gratitude for the journey. Prayers of intercession for the guidance towards my highest path. Prayers for Heidi, Cove, and baby to be as they deal with the loss of Lindy due to cancer. May Lindsay be free. Prayers for a new high-paying job for my partners and I. Prayers for financial stability. Prayers for A and Z to have safety and community. Prayers for the infants, the toddlers, and their caregivers. Prayers for JB to get free. Prayers that I may remember the spaciousness and not feel so attached to all the suffering. Prayers for me as I deepen into my vow to get free and help others get free. May incremental steps support me in this work. Prayers for the earth and the air to be clear. Prayers for folks needing support during the heat waves and climate crisis. Prayers for C to know that these challenges will pass and she be released from this current issue shortly. Prayers for folks interacting with ICE. May they be protected, safe, and released. Prayers of gratitude for God's saving grace. Prayers for my mom. May she recover from her fall quickly. May we get to spend quality time together. Prayers for my upcoming travel. May I be safe and may all my furry family be happy and healthy while I'm gone. Prayers for all who are enabling me to spend time with my mom, especially K, M, U, E, M, and G. Prayers for ongoing healing so I can do more to bring light into this current darkness. Prayers for Jay that they get what they need and connect with their spirit and strength to get through this transition. Love and healing to all. Blessings and prayers to the so-called comfort women who are still alive. May they and their ancestors receive acknowledgement and healing in this life. Prayers for E struggles with chronic illness and chronic pain, asking for resilience and ease. Myself, Melissa, Judith, Kathy, Sharon, Andy, and Trevor, my sister, niece, and nephew traveling. Prayers for my sister, her wife, and 3 children navigating healing childhood trauma. Prayers for my heart to be open to love and to consider what it would be like to bring the walls down that I've had up for most of my life. Prayers for my partner and I as we call forward a new life to join us. Prayers for my mama to continue to age gracefully and to be full of joy. Prayers for C that she be resourced with basic needs and spiritual guidance and direction. Prayers for my health as I recover from illness. Prayers that the relationship between my niece and her mom experiences healing. Prayers for me and all that I am in need of as I continue to learn to find language and courage to voice my needs. Prayers that housing towards a home will arrive clearly and quickly, that I may have stability and capacity. Prayers for my dad who is recovering from his second surgery in 1 month and is learning to adjust to a new phase in his Parkinson's journey. Prayers for Mike and his family as he begins his cancer healing journey today. Prayers for my father-in-law who is presenting with early onset dementia. Deep healing for my quite sore hip for Zoe Crocs. Prayers for my son FV as he works through mental health challenges. Prayers for M and C as they raise their twins. Prayers for peace for my family. Help me to remember I am the space and not the constriction. May I find my base and welcome ease so that I may trust and sustain myself as part of the collective. Prayers for my relationship with my mom, that she and I may get unstuck from patterns of blame and defensiveness. Prayers for Wanell and Quentin Wiggins, may they transition into the ancestral realm with love, Continuing prayers for Nicole and her husband, Gottfried, her daughter Amelie, and undergoing treatment for brain cancer, and for her sister Fanny, for the whole family as they go through this together. For Beth, who put her cat Henna down last week because of lymphoma, for Henna in transition. Prayers for me facing an abuser in court tomorrow and full anxiety. Prayers to stay calm, centered, and sharp, and advocate well. Prayers for myself, poor sleep, overstimulation, body pain, from overwork, etc. Prayers to truly learn how to rest, especially in these turbulent times. Prayers for Gaza, Ukraine, Lebanon, and all war-torn places in the world. Gratitude for rain, flowers, and gardens, and gardeners, birds, and all the amazing beings on this beautiful planet. Prayers for remembrance for Rabbi Zalman Shachter Shalamai, for the 12th anniversary of his death on July 3rd, 2014. Prayers for Lynn Ashley, may she be free in this life, whether we speak again or not. And we offer these prayers, including prayers for especially all the prayers that remain unspoken or unarticulated. We offer those. I continue to offer prayers for Sonia, for the continued transition and establishment of Jelaine, for the support and the healing and the tending of Jay and Frankie. And I continue to pray especially for the complete abolishment of all systems of harm and violence that keep all of us from thriving. May we all remember who and what we are as quickly as possible. May we remember our innate awakened Buddha nature now. May it be so. And we offer these prayers to all of our benefactors, and again, praying that they work on our behalf to bring about the fruition of all that we've prayed for, and to bless us with the capacity to also to continue to work to bring about the fruition of these prayers. And now we turn our attention to just opening up the channels, the paths for those who are beginning to transition or are in transition or who have recently transitioned, as they are returning back into the spirit world or back into the bardo. We continue to pray that they meet with the ancestors, and that they, if it is their path, become ancestors for all their descendants they've left behind in this realm. And so as we begin, we just turn our attention back to ourselves, arising as the healer, as Medicine Buddha, are feeling the awakening of Medicine Buddha within our own experience. And again, we reflect on the liberation, the healing, the thriving of all beings, especially those who are beginning to transition back into the bardo and spirit world. We also offer prayers for all the spirits and the spaces around us on the lands that we dwell, also to be able to open to their transition through this practice. Again, I call upon all the great ones, all the Buddhas, the Dharma protectors, the Bodhisattvas, all the benevolent ancestors, all the great protectors of the lands and the elements, to support the transition of these beings. And we call upon also the great blessings of Amitabha Buddha, the Buddha of bliss, of light. We call upon Amitabha to begin to open up the paths, the doors, so that all these beings, all of our beloveds, all the beings around us may be able to transition. To you, to the great holder of light, to Amitabha, Omami de Wadri. From our heart centers, begin to imagine again our heart centers beginning to glow and illuminate, and how this illumination begins to flow like water from our heart centers into the space in front of us, and how this pouring of light into the space in front of us begins to light and to clear the way back into the spirit world, back into the bardo for all beings. We imagine that all beings begin, all spirits begin to see this, begins to follow the stream of light back home. And I also call upon the sacred waters as well. I call upon and call to the spirits and the deities of the sacred waters to also begin to clear this way, as we also offer the names of beings close to us. And may this water also begin to clear the path and to open the way for all beings needing to transition from this plane back into the spirit world, so that they may continue their journey of remembrance. Of course, I offer my prayers first for my Aunt Shalane, who recently transitioned. We offer this also for Yuli, for David, for Katie, for Wanell and Quentin Wiggins, for Irvin. Continue to offer this for all the people in the world who have died from state violence in this world, in the past, and for all those who will die and transition from state violence. We offer this for all beings who have died in war, famine, and other acts of violence. May these beings be freed from the trauma that they may be experiencing, to be released back from this world, so that they may continue their journey back into the spirit world and ultimately towards awakening. I pour this for the lands that are holding us, for all the forgotten spirits and beings. May this water and may this light from our being tend to you. May this offering guide you back, even if we do no longer remember your name. May you be blessed and freed. I pour to the earth, so the earth may have nourishment to release and to gently guide all the earthbound spirits back home. I pour this for all of our ancestors, that all of our ancestors may have what they need to continue healing and getting free. And finally, I make this last offering for each of us as a preemptive offering, so that this energy that we've just offered may be available to us when it comes time for us to make our transitions from this world. May this energy that we offer now meet us when it is time for us to make our journey. May the path be cleared for us, may the doors be opened, and may the ancestors and all the benevolent spirits meet us on the other side. May it be so. And so, having made this offering, we imagine that slowly this stream of light from our heart centers begins to lessen, to wind down, as if turning off a water faucet. And we come back to ourselves, having done what we can in this moment. And we return back to the mantra just for a couple of minutes. And as we are practicing, I invite you to imagine what it means to become the medicine that all beings need to get free. Imagine what it would feel like, what it would be like to just become the medicine. And we continue. O te anda begenze begenze ma begenze razu munga te soha te anda begenze begenze ma begenze razu munga te soha te anda 제한자 옴배근세 배근세 마배근세 라스수문가 대소아. And as we prepare to transition out of practice, I invite you to make one final aspiration as the healer. This final aspiration is the same aspiration we've been making all practice, that all beings are free from suffering, that all beings have what they need to tend to suffering, to release trauma, to open to care, to be cared for, and to offer care, that we all together may experience thriving and being. May this be so now. And when you're ready, returning back to your heart center, beginning to imagine that this radiance radiating through your body, that this radiance begins to become even more intense, and that in this radiance, you and everything begins to dissolve into this radiance, into this white light. And the only thing that's left is awareness. That your awareness is simply released into emptiness itself, where we rest and open and just be within emptiness. So when you're ready, shifting your attention back to the weight of your body, to the seat rising to hold you, connecting once again to the land, to the breath, allowing your body to come back into focus, into being, deepening the breath. And when you feel stabilized, beginning to slowly reawaken your bodies through simple movements. If your eyes have been closed, slowly beginning to open your eyes. When you're ready, we move to closing out this practice with Shantideva's prayer, which you will see posted in the chat by Carson, which we will recite 3 times. May I be a protector to those without protection, and a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring to cross the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, and a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. And finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, and a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. And just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. All right, thank you all so much for your practice. And do we have any final